Hello, everyone, and welcome to my show, Let's Talk About It with SABIA KHATUN at Vodcasts. Today, we have something which I'd like to touch upon. It's either unspoken or taboo, and it's a very sensitive issue, and I have some extraordinary people with me today. We will be talking and touching up on mental health and race discriminations. And there'll be topics which will be mentioned about self-stigma, shared experiences, and what resolutions that we have that we can share with you, our viewers, the public, and what things that similar things that you could be facing that you don't find comfortable to come out because you feel that, can I talk about it? Can I mention it? What if, are there fears? Are there anxieties? Are there things that you feel very worried and cautious about that you forget what your mental state is like? We have some extraordinary people here. Two of my guests will be speaking anonymously for confidentiality. And I do have one other guest who will be here, which I can introduce you. I will start with that guest first. And it's Mr. Dele Rotimi, who is a head teacher in UK and who's kindly come onto our show to share a few things which he will tell us a little bit about. But I'll just like to say thank you. Hello again, Mr. Dele Rotimi, and thank you for coming to our show.
Hello, good evening, SABIA. Lovely to be on your show again. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And if I can just get our next guest just to say hello, that they're here. And so I'll ask Mary. Mary, hello, and thank you so much for coming on this show.
Hello, Sabia. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mary. And if we can go to Amy, and welcome Amy on this, who is another extraordinary person and human being. And I am so delighted to have Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Sabia. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, if I can now ask our Mr. Dele Rotimi. Dele, would you like me to call you Dele?
Yeah, please. Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Okay, right. So Dele has few experiences that he will share with us today, and I will pass you on to him, and so we can find out what it is that has happened to Dele's life and his journey, where he is today, and how he is surrounding himself around, whether it's in the school education sector surrounding, or whether it's in his personal life. So if I can ask you, Dele, please tell us what you can share with us today on this unspoken or taboo issue.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me onto the show. And I think this is a really, really important topic, which is why I was very enthused to come on and speak about this. Even the title of the show, Unspoken or Taboo, that's the main reason why I've decided to come on this show, because for many ethnic minority groups, unfortunately, still, the issue of mental health is seen as something either to be swept under the rug or something that just doesn't exist. So from my personal perspective, I'm a dual citizen. I'm both British and Nigerian. Nigerian heritage, grew up in Nigeria till the age of 11, and then came over here for my secondary education in a boarding school, and I've been here ever since. From that African heritage, it was very clear that issues that we now know are recognizable as mental health issues are issues that are just brushed to one side. I mean, even till today, my parents would tell me that mental health issues really do not exist. You just, you grit your teeth and you just get on with it, and it's just life. And I think some of our cultures just sniff on this idea of mental health. Um, the two things I want to share with you in terms of mental health uh, are this. I think, first of all, on a societal level, um, people from ethnic minorities in this country suffer, we all suffer from what I call societal mental health issues that
Right,
impact on us as a people,
right,
because we all have certain shared experiences. Um,
right,
uh, for example, one of the shared experiences could be the experience of rejection that you get as
right.
an ethnic minority, which might happen to you on a few occasions in your life.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, could you tell us something about your own personal experience about what you just mentioned about that rejection? Because
yeah,
there are a lot of
so
people
yeah,
out there,
absolutely,
who have different kinds of rejections.
absolutely,
It could be
absolutely.
a systematic one, or it could be even something merely something someone said.
Absolutely. So I think systemic rejection or systemic prejudice actually is something that can affect your mental health state. So I can give an example of that. I, I, I'm in education. I'm now a head teacher, and I can remember when I applied for my first 5 jobs in education,
Right,
and I was unsuccessful in the first 4 attempts. Um,
right,
Now, not to blow my own trumpet, I think I'm quite a good judge of how I conduct myself and how powerful I might be in an interview or not. I knew
yeah,
full well in those first 4 interviews that I had not got the jobs, not because I wasn't the best person, but because
mm,
there'd been some level of discrimination against me.
mm,
Certain things happened in all of the interview processes where I could see a sense
right,
of fear of my otherness um,
yeah.
from the
Did you
people who,
feel, yeah, did you feel that panel, like, were there, I mean, again, I'm going to bring in that race
yeah,
discrimination. Did you feel
yeah.
on that panel that there was some sort of discrimination going on?
Oh, definitely, most definitely. I felt, I think in all of them, I felt that there was a level of either threat
Hmm.
that they felt from myself, or just this sense that I wouldn't belong
Right.
in their teams, for want
Mm.
of a better word. And obviously, these teams were predominantly teams where there was no. I was being interviewed by people where there was no ethnic kind of like variety in the people that were interviewing me. Now, I'm not saying that I went to interview panels and was racially abused, explicitly
Mm.
so on and so forth. No, but these are subtle things,
Right.
things that you get in feedback, that you or even getting a feedback where they haven't pointed out anything negative in your performance. So you're
Right.
left to come to the other conclusion that, okay,
Right.
this is about my face not fitting in. Now, why would I equate this kind of experience with mental health? Well, if that happens to you once, twice, 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
some people are able to deal with it, but for
Mm.
some other people, it impacts you mentally, you
Yes.
know, and that could be on one level causing anxiety
Mm.
when you next go for a job interview, or
Mm.
on a more heightened level, it could actually be something that leads to depression or some state
Yeah.
of depression, you know?
Again, yes, it's a bit like you only need that one word, don't you? To
Absolutely.
affect your mental state, and that
Absolutely.
that would be like the hard battle for one person. Some people, it probably takes so many physical abuse before they are affected at all. So the levels, my one word of it affected me, for example, so harsh. You know, God knows what would have happened if anything else was added
So
on to
now,
that.
so now think about this. If as a person of color, be you black or Asian or Chinese or whatever, you now start to put two and two together as a young man or young woman, and you
Mm,
start thinking, oh my God, so this is the way society is rigged up. Every time I go for an interview, there
mm,
could be a strong chance that I have to do something extraordinary to break this mold of of some kind of prejudicial view against me.
Right.
Just
So it's
think
like
about
making that extra effort, it seems like,
absolutely. So just think about the impact that that could have on you as a young person as you start to put those blocks together and thinking, well, actually, it's not always going to be about my qualities as a person, my qualities as a professional. You know,
Right.
I have to do this other extra stuff, or I might have to go through certain amounts of rejection
Right.
before I get to where I need to get to. This is why, for me, some of our young people give up.
Right.
Some do, just say, well, I'm going to stop trying. Some veer into despondency, so on and so forth. And all of those aspects are aspects of mental health. You don't
Right.
have to have people come and take you away in a white coat to be suffering from mental health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anxiety and even little levels of depression are expressions of mental health.
Yeah. If I can ask Amy, I mean, it's interesting what you just said, Dele. If I can ask Amy to give a bit of comment on this, what was actually just mentioned about that you don't need, you don't need to sort of like be having something big happen to you to affect your mental state. It sometimes takes that small one word. Amy, could you kindly give us a bit of your comment on that?
Yeah, sure. Like our world is like changing rapidly at the moment.
Right.
And like I work with elderly people, and I've seen a huge difference, especially with what's happening like quite recently with the pandemic, especially like they're so isolated. And imagine somebody that has lived their life and they've experienced, like, for example, like, um, racism and other things, and all of these, like, they go through the mind, and they're all like, they're so isolated that they are just alone with the thoughts.
Right. Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah. So are you I mean your background, you come from a background of you deal with mental health support with various elderly and aged people, and what do you come across each day, and how, if you can just tell us a bit about how that sort of like impacts on you as well as what you're actually observing to the people that you're trying to support.
Yeah, so like recently it's just like been really hard because like lifestyle has changed, how we have to work, like part-time working from home, and it's really difficult, and I feel like we can't give 100% where we were able to a few months ago. And
Okay.
it's like, you see a lot of difference in patients that have asked for help, like,
Right.
like if they share their experience with loved ones, they are actually doing so much better than somebody that's actually completely isolated. And it does
Yeah.
affect us, like it does, like, you always think about, oh, what could have you done to, like, make it better for them, or what can you say to them that would give them a bit of ease, or what services are out there. So we're constantly doing researches and trying to find out other services that are, like, recently we have a lot of online, but with elderly people it's really unfair because they don't have that knowledge of getting on online and doing activities and all
Yeah.
the
So this
group
is
activities.
where, yeah, and this is
Yeah.
where you're guiding them, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, like they're kind of like living with the constant worry and anxiety.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
And
if I
it's
can just, so if I can just mention to our viewers, again, the reason why we're not showing our anonymous guest faces is due to the fact that, there are some sensitive issues there, and we hope that you will respect that and understand, the reasons behind it. Yeah, so going back to Amy, sorry, Amy, you were mentioning about how you're supporting these people because they need that guidance.
yeah, so like, providing occupational health is like, it's really hard how when you see somebody doing so well, and because of the pandemic they kind of deteriorated so much,
Yeah.
not just like mentally, but physically. Because from
Right.
anxiety and worry, they would develop so much health issues. And I
Right.
think like at the moment, it's really important for family and friends that have elderly loved ones to actually call them once in a
Mm.
while, or just ask them how the mood is, because even if
Right.
they think about them worrying, that would
Yeah.
actually help them realizing that, okay, I am worried, what can I do to make it
Right.
better?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we addressed some of the issues these people are facing. I mean, we will later on go on to addressing few suggestions of how things can overcome from our guest experiences. If I can ask our next anonymous guest, Mary, to tell us a little bit, sharing of her experiences of the mental health states, and how these things have impacted on your life, Mary. If you can briefly tell us a little bit, and then later on we'll go a little bit more in detail in your own comfort. So, Mary, if you can share with us a little bit, that would be really great.
Yes, thank you, Sabia. Well, my experience will be a little bit different. I will be talking about more on myself, and not on what's actually happening out there, but what
Right,
actually happens at home. So
right,
it's more like, because I have come from a really close family, and then I got married and I moved away from my family due to marriage,
yeah,
miles away. And I'm talking about 25 years ago. So we didn't really have mobile phones and connections where we can just quickly FaceTime our family, or call our family and friends and just talk about certain things. Because I did go, briefly, I would say I did go through a lot of issues at home
right,
with my
yeah,
in-laws.
yeah,
And with my in-laws, the problem was because they didn't really choose me, and because they didn't,
right,
I wanted to prove myself that I am better, or I can do better. And
right.
I kept on doing and kept on doing more and more and more.
Hmm.
Um, but nothing was good enough to them.
So, how long, if I may ask, how long did all this you're trying, and if you can share with us what is it that you tried, and what is it that they actually said maybe or did maybe that affected you?
Um, well, it's everything really. They demanded everything from me. I was the last person to go to bed, first person to wake up. I have to be the first person to wake up and do things that we really don't. It's unnecessary things, like you have to sweep up the floor before everybody comes and steps on it. Things like that that I've never heard of.
Right.
Um, I
And
had
how
to.
did you feel when this was being said to you?
Um, I felt, well, at the time, because that never happened in my household. I felt, oh, why I couldn't question. If I did, I would get shout at, like, oh, your mother never taught you these things. Well, I'm teaching you, and you have to do this and that. So then I carried on. I thought, okay, I just wanted to be in their good books really, and carried on and on and on, and it just went on for 25 years now. And
25 years. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm finding that. Um, how did um, how did it reach to 25 years? And did you find any support, or what support did you have?
well,
I'm finding
well
that quite shocking.
after a year or so, I did move out. Well, I didn't move out, they actually threw us out, and
Oh,
then we had our own place. But even if we did have our own place, I still had to, like, they will call me and say, you come here now, and I will drop everything. I will just literally drop everything and just go. And
Right.
that's it. My time, my day, everything, they were like my number one priority.
Okay.
That's how, as soon as the mobile phone, then phones came along, and then as soon as the phone rang, I had to, like, pick up, and must pick up.
Yeah.
Then
So did you have, if I can just ask, did you have your husband's support in any of this, or anyone else? I mean, how did you let it go to 25 years?
Well, then my children came along, and every time it was a different thing. It was like, oh, my children, I never had grandparents, and I missed out on that on both sides, my mother's side and my father's side. So
Right.
I didn't want my children to miss out on that. So I thought, no, I would go and put my children, my child on their lap, and they will push them away, things like that. But I still did it. I thought,
Right.
no, I'm gonna create that love. Maybe, in
You did
time.
what you thought was right.
I thought, yeah, and I thought maybe in time things will change. And it went on and on. My husband, yes, he was very supportive. Every time I came back and I felt down and I cried, he said, don't go, you don't have to go.
So why
But
did you? Why did you?
I thought, like I said, I didn't want my children to miss out. I wanted them to be part of, like, everything, and keep going. So I kept on going, and kept on doing what they're doing. I've never said no to them, because if I've
Right.
said no to them, then I would have felt like, okay, maybe because I said no to them, they're upset with me. But I've never said
Right.
no to them. If they said
Okay.
jump, I would say how high, and I would jump that high.
Right. And when did you
That's how
actually
it
say
was.
to yourself, right, we need to stop this, because as you mentioned, it was affecting your own home life with your children. And I mean, when did it come to a point where you just said enough, I've done my best, I've tried, I'm still not being horrible, I'm still trying to create peace. I mean, what was it that did it for you in the end to break that
Well,
cycle?
now looking back at the time, like this, that's what happened. But the mental side, I'm trying to explain, is even though that happened um, at home, and I got on with life, did my normal chores and everything.
Mm.
I Now looking back, it what I can see is that I actually was mentally affected, because at the time I didn't recognize it, but now I'm looking back, I'm thinking actually I probably was mentally affected in a way, because I used to feel sad, and I used to feel I'm not, I don't know, it was just one of them things. And then when my children did stuff like silly things, like spill something, I would shout at them,
Mm.
or I would be moody, and I would take it out on my husband, I would take it out on my children, I would take it
Right.
out on people around me that I can take it out on. I can't take it out on them.
Right.
Uh,
And did you ever speak to
that's
anyone about it?
I have couple of times I spoke to, like, the professional, the scholars, like alimas. I
Right.
explained my situation, because I was feeling so down. Because
Right.
you need to talk to somebody.
Right.
So I spoke to Alima, and I spoke to. I had some friends on my side,
Right.
which
And
I
you
could
found
say,
that helped you,
yes,
get through this thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that is one journey, and I admire your courage, your bravery, and the fact that you had your husband as a support, that must have been your biggest pillar of strength.
Oh yes, definitely. Every time my husband said, "Don't go, don't go, leave it," you're doing your maximum and beyond. Leave it. They don't appreciate you. They never appreciate you. Just leave it. But I kept
Right,
on going back. I kept on going back, thinking, no, you know, end of the day, for my husband's sake. But just recently, what made me stop? I think I've taken a step back, and I feel so much better now.
right,
It's because something happened, um, and I realized that they don't really, it's not just me. They don't even like, they're very nasty to my husband, like their son.
right.
So if they're
Yeah,
nasty to him and they do things and not asking him and not looking for him,
right.
then I'm thinking, okay, I've
Yeah,
been
what
doing
chance do
well.
you have? Yeah,
Yeah, because I've been really carrying on for my husband
right.
as well.
Yeah.
Because for him, really, because they're his parents and brother and sister, brothers and sisters and what, all of it.
Hmm.
Uh, so if they're like really nasty to him, that means I
Right,
don't have an answer anyway.
right.
So I've just taken
Okay,
a step back, and also my children are older now,
right.
so they can make their own journey if they want to go and visit. And if they're
Yeah,
nasty to them, which they have
right.
been sometimes,
Hmm.
they just back off. They're not like me. They wouldn't keep going. They just
Right,
stop.
right. So you've set your
Um,
priorities now, and you're a much happier person now that you've done that. And um, do you wish you had done that sooner?
um, yes, I am a much happier person now. I don't regret um, the fact that I've carried on and carried on and carried on. But
Right,
the only regret is that, yes, I should have stopped sooner. Um, but I should have stopped sooner, not let it go to 25 years.
yeah, yeah.
Sooner,
Wow.
when I've tried everything, I should have just thought, okay, I've tried
Mm,
everything, I'm going to put a stop to it. But
mm,
I wanted my children to see that I have done that, because when I did, my children
right,
were younger.
yeah,
So if I stopped, my children would have not known otherwise. They would have
right.
thought my
Okay,
mother's not taking us.
yeah. So they're all grown up now, then, are
They're
they?
all
The
grown up
children and
now.
right. Okay,
So
yeah,
they're all grown up now. They've seen all the things that happens to
yeah.
me, to us as a family, to be fair, not just me.
Right, right.
Um,
Okay,
so they
yeah.
kind of
Okay,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, we'll
But yeah,
come back to you
I
again.
do wish I stopped earlier.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. That's just an extraordinary journey that you've gone through. We will come back to you, Mary. If I can go back to Dele and ask you, Dele, that race discrimination. Okay. Before I ask you anything, I want to read a little bit something that we all heard about recently, not so long ago, and that was George Floyd when he said, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Please stop. I can't breathe." Along those lines. Um, what do you think went through people's minds? Okay. And then you've got his own relatives' minds to witness hearing something like that as a general public, as well as if it was one of your dear ones, um, what would be going through your mind at that time that, hold on a minute, this person, he's using the words, "I can't breathe," not once, not twice, but approximately we find out about 7 minutes of it. And then he is no more with us in this life. What trauma and what mental state does it put one through? If I can ask you, Dele, if you can share some thoughts of yours on that as well.
Well, yeah. Look, Black people, people of color in certain countries have gone through a collective trauma. Going back for Black people, going back to the slave trade and going back to the effects of colonialism, and that trauma has left a psychological impact and imprint on those communities. And it's a shame that it takes the murder of an individual for people to realize this, because it's an everyday circumstance. And I think that every day in the West, Black people and people of color actually go through circumstances where they can't breathe. And it is not just a physical. I think that word, I can't breathe, has become a metaphor, not just for the physical, the disgusting physical situation that happened with somebody literally being strangled to death, but also it's become a metaphor for other experiences of Black and ethnic minority people in the West, where you feel that you can't breathe, where you're in situations, for example, right now as we're speaking, there will be someone from an ethnic minority or a Black person in this country who's been through a work experience where every day they have to go in, where they are in the minority, where they get abused, they get slights, they get all this kind of, young people call it now throwing shade, all this kind of things that are thrown at them on a daily level. And they've been put in a situation where they feel they can't say anything. They can't produce their voice to say, look, this is not on. This is this is wrong, because maybe they're fearful of losing their jobs, or they're fearful of being seen as problematic. But that is, for me, is another example of you can't breathe. You're put in a situation where you can't produce.
The term throwing shade, that's new to me. That's like another language to me. It's the generations, that is changing, and
this is something that I'm very passionate about in terms of mental health, that when we talk about solutions, you see, our generation and the generations coming up should not make the mistakes of generations that have gone before us.
Right.
And one of the mistakes I believe that, for example, my parents' generations made was they did not make enough effort to understand what race discrimination felt like for someone in my generation when I was growing up.
Yeah, but wouldn't they have done something what they felt was the right thing to do at that time? Is that not how it would have been?
Probably, but what I feel is that we can't. What wasn't done was enough effort made to understand what it was like for young people of color, Black and ethnic minorities, what their experience was on the ground, and trying to understand and listen to their voices. And that's what I try and do in education now, because as you said, it's a different world.
Yeah.
When I was young in the 80s, I used to walk down the road, and on a few occasions happened to me, a white van went past stereotypically, and somebody who was white shouted out, "You Black so-and-so, go back home, go to Africa, go back," and worse language than that I can't use on here. And for me, my experience as a Black young person growing up in the 80s and early 90s was that when we were going to certain parts of London, certain parts of South London, for example, Southeast, we had to make sure that we planned our journey. We never went alone. We never make sure we were traveling back at certain hours. That is a stressful situation. And I can remember going to places like Woolwich Arsenal and on the train in that direction, and always thinking and looking, around me, just clocking people. And, I felt uncomfortable. This was the era of Stephen Lawrence. May he rest in peace. Rest in peace. But for now, this is a different experience for the young people that I'm teaching now, or for my children. A lot of what they're facing in terms of racism is online, for example, You know, things that are thrown online to them,
Right.
little slide digs, so on and so forth. Another aspect that we need to get our heads around is that sometimes the racism comes internally in terms of colorism, which is another rising aspect. You know, and
So it's
all
not
these kind of
so it's not only in the home, you know, it's there with the peers, the workplace, you
absolutely,
know, and like you're
absolutely
saying, the social media is just,
is
um,
rampant.
oh, you know,
Yeah,
it's crazy, right? You know?
yeah, it's absolutely rampant, and it's also, you know, what if my message to people of our generation at the moment is that the best way we support young Black and ethnic minority kids is we need to make sure that we are available, ready, and
Right,
willing to listen,
right.
because that is, within listening is the greatest therapy you can afford anybody. And you have to
Right.
make sure not just only that you're available, but you're willing. You know,
Yeah.
my mom used to say to me when I was young, in Nigeria, she used to say to me, Dele, I know you're hearing me, but are you listening?
Yes, they're two different things, aren't they?
It's
Very,
two
very
different things.
different. Yeah.
And the greatest support we can give to our young people growing up and the experiences they're having is to take the time out of our busy
Yeah.
schedules to listen to their experiences, because by listening properly, you're allowing them to unburden, and that
Right.
in itself leads to some kind of healing,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
that would
process.
apply. Yeah, that would apply in the home, in the school. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
where you're teaching. I mean, especially now, you know, we have touched upon the race discrimination where people and kids are getting it from online. What about their mental state, now that they will be going back into school, properly? I think what the government are suggesting in September. Um, you know, how are you foreseeing the mental state of these
Well,
kids? Um,
I'll tell you the first thing that I did weeks ago now, quite early in lockdown, when it was quite clear to us that we would not see the majority of our young people to September, was to go to the governing body and say, there are two things I want to increase provision in this school come September, and asking for
right,
extra funding, which was our school counselor therapist,
right, right,
increasing the number of days that my school counselor was going to be in school, and
right.
also my speech and language therapist and my educational psychologist.
So
Because
these support look like these will be much needed now,
absolutely,
with
absolutely,
what we are going through. Uh,
absolutely. And young people are going to need that support from teachers and from other professionals to help unpack what they've been through the lockdown. Look, as we said to our parents in our last bit of communication before going into the summer holidays,
yeah,
everybody, we are aware that everybody through this pandemic has had an impact on their mental health. Every single person.
yeah,
There's absolutely no doubt of that about that in my estimation.
yeah,
The unusualness of it, the strain that it's caused, taking people out of their normal routines, has
mm,
caused everybody at some level to have some kind of mental health reaction
yeah,
or issues. So,
yeah.
you know,
Oh, it's just it's so different out there. And if I can ask, Amy, we have this new norm that we all have to adapt to, adhere to. You know, if you can tell us a bit, Amy, about, you know, mentally, how is your personal life day, you know, is going, and what are you facing, and how is it having an impact, you know, on your mind, your mindset? You know, how are you battling that war of yours, and to know that you have a position where you've got to give mental support to, you know, clients and people, um, that must take, you know, a lot for you in your own mind. Amy.
Yeah, Sabi, I couldn't hear um Delhi properly. I think the audio cut off.
Right. Okay. No, Dele was
Yeah.
talking a little bit about how the children minds and their psychological state and their mental state, will have some sort of impact, especially when they're going back into school in September, and how much support that they will need and require, and what is the government willing to sort of like add on with the resources to give to the schools. But my question to you is, you are from that background where you're supporting people with mental health issues.
Yeah.
They're aged. But
Yeah.
how are you adhering and adapting to every day for yourself, first of all? How are you battling this life that is, having some sort of impact on your mental state? Because then it's that harder and more concrete things that you will need to have for yourself to support others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, I think it's really important to keep yourself busy. I think, like, I have my own family life and I'm working full time. So when I come home, I am constantly keeping myself busy.
Right.
And when weekends are here, I always arrange my weekends. Like, I would plan out days where, I'm seeing family, I'm taking my children out. So I think that's really important to keep your mental health active. I go for like jogging in the morning with my family in the weekend.
Right.
So, we start off the day with exercise and then it's like you're mentally fresh. I think nature, it's all around us and we need to take advantage of it, especially nowadays that the weathers
Right.
are really nice.
Right. Okay. And do you have, I mean, you must give out some sort of information and advice to people. There may be some sort of helplines or information lines. Is there something you can share with us today?
Yeah, of course. It's like there's so much help out there, but I think when like when somebody is worried, they just feel more anxious and they feel like, they're in the wrong. But I
Right.
think it's really important to, ask, like I think Mary was saying she spoke to somebody,
Right.
regarding her issues and that actually helped her. Like,
Right.
we've got like for like 24-hour confidential helpline for elderly
Right.
people, which is called Silver Line.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like it's so easy. They are so nice, and a
Yeah.
lot of
Okay.
my patients actually use that, and
Yeah.
we've seen a huge difference. Like
Okay.
once they
Do
start
you have,
talking,
yeah, sorry, do you have a number that you could share with everyone?
of course, it's 0800
0800
yeah 470
470
8090.
8090. If you can repeat
Yeah,
that
and it's
again
called,
for us, Amy.
yeah, it's 0800 470 8090. And it's called Silver Line.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
for
and
our
it's
viewers out
24
there,
hours.
for our viewers out there, if you feel that, there's someone you would like to turn to or want to get some sort of advice or information in whatever safe way that you can, that there was that number there, which you can make note of. And hopefully, that will give you some sort of reassurance and, peace of mind, hopefully, that we hope that it does. Yes,
Yeah.
Amy. So, any other suggestions that you could give out maybe to our viewers of what things could work for them to overcome any kind of, mental state that they're going through? One of the good ones I like is, connect yourself with nature and, go for a walk.
Yeah.
I know I feel
Yeah.
great after a 20 minutes walk, and I love nature myself. And it does
Yeah.
naturally make you feel like, you know what, I can breathe,
Of
and
course,
I feel a
yeah.
little bit better. Yeah.
You mentally, you feel so much better, and you feel like you've got so much energy even after exercise. Like physically you will feel tired, but then mentally you're so active.
Right.
And I think
Okay.
after like a good run or walk, you could actually, like, it's the best time to read straight after that, because your body is really tired. But
Mm,
because like mentally you're more active, reading is amazing, because your
right.
imagination, because reading is all about your imagination, and it's just wonderful. You should try that.
Yes, yes. I can't remember the last time
Yeah.
I opened a book, but definitely going for a walk, it does wonders,
Yeah.
believe me. And
And it's like, especially like with elderly people, like I've
mm,
seen, like I grew up, and I've seen like my patients' families as well saying, oh no, they're elderly, they shouldn't do anything, they need to rest, they
yeah,
can't take part in activities because they're supposed to rest. And
right.
I totally disagree with that, from
Okay,
my experience. And like, we're constantly promoting activities. So
right.
even if it's setting the table, if you have a grandma or a parent that you're living with, or even you go and visit them, you should let them do activities. Setting the table it's really good for them. If they
Mm,
can't cook, you should encourage them to help you cooking, or
hmm,
like anything around the house. It's actually
right.
really good for them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, again, once you start something off, it's always harder to start it. But once you start it and you're in that mode, I mean, sometimes, I mean, if I can just mention, it's it's a bit of an effort to get outside, and get yourself, your mind ready to say, right, okay, I'm going to go for a walk. Sometimes that is a lot of effort for some people. But once you're out there, I think you start feeling great, saying, "Oh, I'm glad I made that effort to come out."
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's like our human brain is amazing. It's like,
Mm.
like, we have the ability to think ahead, like the obstacle, the problems that are going to come. We have that ability, and it's
Mm.
so important to keep our brain active.
Yeah,
And I think like the younger generation needs to understand that, and
yeah.
kind of like encourage our elders to keep going. Like
Mm.
during the pandemic, we weren't able to see our patients, which we have
Right,
started again now. But what we
right.
were doing is personalizing activities that they can do at home and posting it to them. Simple as
Sure.
like crossword, word
Mm.
search, coloring,
Yeah, yeah.
therapeutic activities. And they found it really beneficial. Like, honestly, they really enjoyed it. And, we
Mm.
got really good feedback.
Right. Oh,
It's like
that's
simple things
wonderful.
like this, it really helps.
That's great. That is so great. If I can add on, I have got some mental health helplines here, which I would like to read out for the benefit of our viewers. There's one called Calm, and it's all free, and the number is 0800 58 58 58. That's 0800 58 58 58. You can also call Samaritans for free on 116 123. The Samaritans number 116 123. So these are some really useful numbers to make note of. There is a text that, if some of you find that easier, that you can text the word shout, which is SHOUT, to the number 85258, or visit Shout online, where there's a counseling for the younger generation from the age of 10 to 16-year-olds. That is worth noting. There are other national refuge lines, which are 24-hour helplines. That's 0808 2000 247. That's 0808 2000 247, and that's for young minds. I hope you will make note of some of those contacts, as there are various different kinds of situations we are all going through, whether you're young at school or an old age person that you're either living with, or whether that person is in a care home, whether it's around your friends, in the workplace. What I will say is, say a kind word. It doesn't cost anything. It only takes one unkind word to affect or have an impact on some individuals. And, how do we make a difference? How can we make a difference? Let's all think about things around us, and be a bit more considerate of our surroundings. Dele, if I
Yes.
can ask you, there's something about self-stigma that I'd like you to mention, from your part. What do you understand, or what can you tell us a little bit about self-stigma? To our viewers, we are coming almost to the end of our show, which I would like our guests just to take a couple of minutes of a few things to summarize before we wrap up. So self-stigma is one thing I would like to ask yourself, if you can say something about that.
Yeah, I mean, very briefly, I think stigmatization as a whole is a big issue when it comes to race and identity, and I think that we sometimes, I mean, we just got to be very careful about the negative words that are out there that are used to attached to certain ethnicities and races. Sometimes that comes from people who are not in the same ethnic group as you, and sometimes actually comes internally. But those words resonate, and you said a few minutes ago that a kind word goes a long way. You are absolutely right. Just in the same way that a negative word goes also a long way in terms of harming people, and sometimes that stigmatization that is out there in terms of racial identity, ethnic identity, as I said earlier, colorism, which is a big thing, I think, in Asian communities, in Black communities. The lighter you are, the more attractive you are, apparently. The darker you are, the less attractive you are. These kind of things really impact hugely on our young people, and that is across the ethnicities. There are young Bangladeshi and Pakistani girls right now who do not feel great within themselves because they've been stigmatized, perhaps because their skin is not as light as some people think it should be in terms of their perception of beauty. The same thing happens in the Black community. So we have to remove these negative words and perceptions from our cultures, because actually they end up harming a lot of our young people. People.
Yeah. So we want to get to the root of something as soon as possible, or is practical, because the last thing we want is where people have reached the stage where they're suicidal.
Absolutely. And people also, kind of just caution that people get stuck on the extreme end of the scale, suicide and all this kind of stuff in terms of mental health issues. Don't let's downplay the softer aspects of mental health issues, which, for some people, anxiety day upon day just leads to tremendous unhappiness and lives that are lived unfulfilled. And that is one of the most saddest things in the world, to have a life that you live that has been unfulfilled.
So thank you for that. Mary, If I can ask you to say a few words briefly before we wrap up and finish off, is there anything else that you can suggest to everyone out there? You know, some of the issues that you have faced and what kind of things you did along the way to overcome them. I know you mentioned making a phone call to a friend of yours helped you. You also called couple of scholars who you thought may help you. Are there anything else that you could suggest that may benefit our viewers in overcoming similar issues that you have faced?
Yes, Sabia. Yeah, you have to find a good friend and talk someone who would listen and talk that you can talk to and give you good advice. That's very important. You can't keep things in yourself. And again, like my husband was very supportive. If he wasn't, maybe it would have been a different story. I don't know. But because he's very supportive, understood me,
Right.
and he can see that I was doing the maximum,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he could see the effect that it caused within our family, and that was the only issue that made these problems in the house. Otherwise, we don't have any other problems.
Right.
But because of this, the problem carried on here.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Thank you for that. And Amy, just the last few words from yourself of what other kinds of tips that you can give everyone in how to cope with different kinds of mental
Like,
states.
it's just like, if you look for negativity, you would find it. But if you look for positivity, you'll always find like something positive. So we had this one quote that was sent to one of our patients that made a huge difference to him.
Right.
He, in fact, after reading it, he actually decided to take part in therapy.
Wow.
So, I would like to share that. And I think,
Okay.
it makes a difference to other people's lives.
Yeah.
It's every day might not be good, but there's always something good in every day.
Yes.
So then again, like going back to, if you look for negativity, you'll find it. But you should always look for positivity because it's always there.
Yeah. And let's not forget, every day is a new day as well. And let's make the most of today, rather than killing ourselves. Probably trying to work on how to make a better tomorrow. Why are we forgetting about here and now? So let's not forget about today as well. Thank you for that, Amy. Anything else? Last few words, Dele, before we wrap up our show.
So to everybody out there, we are our own best. As a community, we are our best support. Everybody should be kind to each other, share kind words, listen to each other, because that is the best form of therapy. And I wish everybody the best in this difficult situations moving forward from lockdown and in every aspect of our lives. Support and having that caring approach and empathetic approach to each other goes a long way. So let's all be kind and let's all listen to each other. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Dele. Well, there we have it, everyone. Thank you very much to all my guests for today, coming and sharing your extraordinary experiences and being brave and courageous to come forward. And a special thank you to Mary and Amy for braving to come forward and giving us all food for thought, valuable information, valuable everyday situations that are real and they're true. What I would like to tell our viewers now is be kind to each other, have consideration for each other, and you know, this takes you a long way. This will make you feel a lot better in yourself. Be that better person, and just be kind. So with that, you know, we all have different kinds of mental issues that we are battling each day and every day. You know, there is no battle which is too small, because your small battle is probably someone's heavy burden on their shoulders. So let's not forget about that, and let's have some considerations on those things. And with that, you know, I will just say, you know, smile, as that is, you know, not costing you anything. You know, that could brighten up someone's day. You know, give a friend a call, give someone a call, say hello to your neighbors. You know, again, it does wonders to the mental state. Today, you've been here with SABIA KHATUN for Vodcast. Like us, comment, share, and if you like what you see, give us a call and get in touch with us to see more of topics such as this, where you can next time probably get involved and call in. Thank you very much again, and thank you for joining me. It's SABIA KHATUN for Vodcast.